Hello and thank you for purchasing the Stoelting-Ready Flavor Burst Soft Serve System. This installation video will cover the equipment setup portion of the manual. Please review the box contents to ensure all parts are present, and keep in mind that the installation process is the same for both the 4 and 8 flavor units. Determine where you wish to mount the touch panel. It is typically mounted in the middle of the freezer, centered above the middle spout on a multi-barrel freezer, or centered above the spout with the Flavor Burst assembly attached. Clean the top surface of the freezer where the mounting bracket will be attached, between the front edge and the hopper, with detergent water. Rinse the area with warm water, and dry with a single service towel. Use the ampule provided to prime the cleaned area before mounting the touch panel mounting bracket. Set the mounting plate on the freezer where it will be attached. Measure and mark around the base plate. Be sure that your mounting plate is in the best location, as it will not be movable once the adhesion is down. Remove the protective covering from the adhesive strip on the bottom of the base plate. The front of the plate is the side with the posts that are closest together. Apply the base plate to the freezer within the pencil marks. Press firmly and allow the adhesive to cure for at least 1 hour. Install the touch panel mounting plate to the back of the touch panel using the screws provided. Use the small lock washers in between the plate and screws. Connect the Ethernet cable to the driver board 1 Ethernet port behind the touch panel screen. Connect the straight end of the switch extension to the port 1 switch port behind the touch panel screen. Place the anchor bracket within the arms of the touch panel plate so that the flat end of the anchor bracket extends away from the front of the touch panel. Insert the hex bolts through the touch panel plate arms from the outside, through the upright slots of the anchor bracket. Secure the bolts with the lock nuts, with the washers between the nuts and the bracket. Thread the Ethernet cable through the mounting bracket. After the base plate has had an hour to cure, mount the touch panel and bracket assembly to the base plate. Use the hand knobs to attach the assembly to the posts of the base plate, and tighten them to secure. To position the touch panel closer or further from the freezer operator, loosen the base plate hand knobs and slide the assembly forward or backward. Ensure the anchor bracket is secured to all 4 posts of the base plate. Tighten the hand knobs to secure the desired position. To adjust the height or angle of the touch panel, loosen the hex bolts and lock nuts and move the touch panel into the desired position. Tighten the bolts to secure. The draw switch extension should be used with freezers with an integrated switch already installed. The other option is a draw handle switch, included in the spare parts kit, for those freezers without the internal switch. Machines manufactured prior to June 1, 2020 will require a wire harness kit. This will need to be installed by the ASP. If the machine does not have the draw switch extension, the draw handle switch can be installed as an option. These instructions are for converting a gravity-fed soft-serve machine to be Flavor Burst ready. To complete the wire harness installation, you will need a drill, half-inch wrench, and a 3/16 hex key wrench. Disconnect the machine from the electrical supply before servicing. Remove the header panel and the front door from the machine. To install the 3.5mm jack to the left side of the header panel shelf, mark and drill a pilot hole through the header panel shelf. Center the mark between the spigot and the edge of the header panel. Use the 7/16 drill bit included in the kit to drill a hole in the header panel shelf. Be sure to deburr the hole and clean metal shavings from the header panel shelf. Insert the 3.5mm jack into the hole and secure it with a nut. On the spigot assembly, remove the dispense rate adjuster knob located below the header panel. Remove the 2 socket head screws that attach the spigot assembly to the panel and disconnect the wire harness from the existing spigot switch. Install the new spigot switch to the assembly. Do not tighten the nuts yet. Adjust the new switch to activate when the existing switch activates, then tighten the nuts. Position the spigot handle assembly in the header panel shelf and fasten it securely with the 2 socket head screws. Replace the dispense rate adjuster knob and tighten it. Install the front door. Ensure the straight end of the switch extension is connected to the port 1 switch port on the underside of the touch panel. Connect the angled end of the switch extension to the switch jack underneath the freezer overhang, near the draw handle. The draw handle switch is used when an integrated switch is not present in the freezer, the integrated freezer switch malfunctions, or when troubleshooting a problem. The draw handle switch is located inside the spare parts kit. Please refer to the manual for installation. Prepare sanitizer solution by mixing half a packet of Sterasheen Green Label with 1 gallon of warm water until dissolved. Pour approximately 16 ounces of sanitizer into a spray bottle. Remove the O-rings from the spout adapter. Submerge the gearbox, nut, gear cartridge, spout adapter, O-rings, suspension bracket, and blending head in sanitizer solution, and allow to soak for 5 minutes. Remove the cap and spray the cap and syrup line manifold opening with approved sanitizer solution. Allow them to sanitize for at least 5 minutes. Place the 9-tube assembly and manifold cap on a sanitary surface to dry. Remove the parts from the sanitizer solution and allow to air dry. Place the gear cartridge into the gearbox so that the gear teeth line up with the gear inside the gearbox. Install the blending head onto the gearbox and rotate off-center to secure. Insert the drive motor into the gearbox so that all 4 locking screws are fully seated. Rotate the motor clockwise to secure. When possible, install the blending assembly on the opposite side of the 9-tube assembly's placement. Placing the drive motor end of the assembly opposite from the 9-tube assembly makes it easier to attach and remove it when cleaning. 2 different suspension brackets are included with this system. 1 for freezer doors with 4 posts, and 1 for freezer doors with 2 posts. Install the bracket back onto the freezer door post. The bracket should be installed on the post closest to where the drive motor of the assembly will be. Reinstall the freezer door. Install and tighten the freezer door knobs. For freezer doors with only 2 knobs and posts, the installation process is the same. Ensure the freezer door spout is clean and sanitized according to the freezer manufacturer's instructions. Install the O-rings in their proper positions on the adapter body. Install the spout adapter assembly, complete with O-rings, onto the freezer spout. Place the blending assembly onto the suspension bracket so that the gearbox post slides into the bracket opening. Install the blending head fully over the spout adapter. Push up on the blending assembly and lift the locking collar up and over the adapter tabs. Rotate the locking collar over the tabs to secure. Connect the drive motor cable to the motor. Ensure the gearbox of the blending assembly is level horizontally and the drive motor is straight vertically as it rests on the bracket. Insert the syrup line manifold end fully into the blending head syrup line opening. Rotate it until motion stops to secure. Prepare detergent water by mixing several drops of Dawn dish soap with a gallon of warm water. The casing assembly contains very powerful magnets to attach to the side of the freezer. Simply place the assembly in line with the blending assembly with the hinge surface downward, which places the screws at the top. The casing assembly should be level horizontally. Remove the screw from the top of the casing assembly. Swing the casing cover open. Place the 9-tube assembly tubes inside the casing. Also, place the drive motor cable inside this casing. Pull any excess tubes and cables to the back of the freezer, allowing enough slack in the front to comfortably curve around to the blending assembly, but not enough to droop or hang. Determine where the plastic casing will be installed. Typically, it is installed along the side of the freezer, at the front corner, and just above the metal casing assembly. Clean this area with detergent water. Rinse with warm water. Hold the plastic casing in position, about 2 inches above the metal casing, with the opening seam towards the front. Mark on the casing where the freezer side panel meets the cap of the freezer. Also, mark where it meets the bottom edge of the freezer overhang. Trim the casing at the upper mark. Then, open the casing and clip a small 1/4 to 1/2 inch hole along the open edge where the second mark was made. This will be an exit hole for the draw switch extension cable. Remove the protective tape from the plastic cable casing and apply the casing to the cleaned area, with the small hole level with the bottom of the overhang. Feed the touch panel's Ethernet cable and switch extension cable inside the casing. Have the switch cable exit through the small hole, with as little slack to the jack port as possible. Close the casing and press along the seam until it snaps closed. Place the Ethernet cable inside the metal casing. Close the casing, taking care not to pinch any of the cables and tubes. Install the screw to secure the casing. Locate the 5-tube lead at the back of the cabinet. Remove the dust cap and slide the coupler casing toward the unit to expose the lead line coupler. Remove the 9-hole gasket from the end of the 9-tube assembly line. Spray the end of the 9-tube assembly, the gasket, and the end of the lead with sanitizer solution. Allow these parts to sanitize for at least 5 minutes. Align the 9-hole gasket with the coupler pins of the 5-tube lead and place the gasket against the coupler. Then, align the coupler pins of the 2-tube assemblies and connect them. Slide the coupler casing over the connection and screw each coupler nut into each end of the casing. Insert one end of the sanitizer tube into the fitting located at the lower back of the cabinet. Mix 1 packet of flow sand with 2 gallons of warm water until dissolved. Pour the sanitizer solution into the tank. Reinstall the cap and tighten sufficiently. Set the sanitizer tank on a surface level with the bottom of the cabinet and within the distance of the sanitizer tube. Connect the other end of the sanitizer tube into the fitment on the sanitizer tank. Find the power entrance module on the side of the cabinet. Ensure the power switch is in the off position, with the O end pressed in. At the back of the cabinet, connect the drive motor cable to the round metal port. Connect the Ethernet cable to the Ethernet port in the plastic gland. Screw the plastic cover over the connection and secure the Ethernet gland assembly with the nut. Connect the power cord to the power entrance module and plug the power cord into an outlet. Activate the unit by pressing the line end of the switch. Turn on the touch panel by pressing the small round black power button on the back casing. There is also a smaller power button between the casing and the screen. Most likely, settings on the touch panel will need to be adjusted according to the operator's preference. For the initial setup, however, proceed with the rest of this section before making those adjustments. Remove each tray from the cabinet and clean them with detergent water. Rinse with warm water and dry thoroughly. Select the syrup flavor you wish to use. Then, place the bag on the table with the fitment up and remove the dust cap. Lifting up with the bag fitment, press the center pin of the bag fitment valve and gently press on the bag to release any excess air. Grip the bag underneath the fitment and lift the bag up, with your other hand supporting the bottom of the bag. Make sure the syrup bag is settled neatly into the tray, and then install the loaded tray into the cabinet. At this time, you may wish to change the touch panel menu flavor names to coordinate with the new flavors installed. This may be done now or later in the touch panel operations manual. Perform the entire clean-in-place procedure as instructed in the scheduled maintenance section. The clean-in-place procedure must be done during the initial setup to ensure all the parts and syrup lines are sanitized and ready for use. You are now ready to add soft serve mix to your frozen treat machine and start it up. Refer to your manufacturer's startup for the required steps.